Hello, Boris Pravisham here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about, well, at the moment I've just sort of given it the working title of the Asteroid game, which is what the title of this video was originally, but I will change it depending on what we come up with. So far I've gotten a suggestion, a good suggestion from Thomas Kitchenson that I rather like, which is Domain. I'm not sure if that's sort of a unique enough name. I mean, obviously the name doesn't really matter in the end, but I have a terrible habit of not naming things very well. So another one that Dracol suggested was Roid Grab, which I liked primarily for the innuendo of it all. But anyway, I decided to make a video about it because I will be hosting this game this weekend, the following weekend after I upload this video, primarily for the applicants who applied to get on the whitelisted NID server but didn't quite make it, as well as the rest of the NID members as well. And I wrote a very long explanation of what the game was and how it worked on the Steam group, which I have linked below if you wanted to read it all, but I think people sometimes prefer, to listen to the rules, and if I explain them here, then I won't have to explain them when I show the video and, use up everyone's time instead of playing. So, the basic premise of it is very simple. There are two teams, and you fight for control over a group of asteroids. Now, surprisingly, I had to think long and hard about how to make that actually work, because even though it sounds quite simple, you have to, add in a few little rules here and there to make sure people actually do that. But we'll start off with the basics. You have two teams. They each have a base. On each team there can be anyone from one person to as many as your server can hold, a veritable army. And they fight for control over the asteroids over the period of, well, an extended period. We're going to start with 2 hours and see how that goes. If this goes well, then we won't play it just once. So we'll change the rules as, we find out what works and what doesn't. Now I say an extended period of time because this is meant to be more of a long-term strategy game. Okay, it's more of a war rather than a battle. The aim of the game is to, at the end, when the timer goes off, to have placed a powered beacon that is set for everyone to see, so shared with all, and a broadcast range of infinite. Not that the infinite really matters. I mean, this world will set to be only a 5 kilometer world, because we don't really want people going too far out of this. I mean, 5 kilometers is plenty, so you wouldn't even need the beacon on that far, but for argument's sake, have it up on infinite. And then you have to place each powered beacon on each of the asteroids. And this signals that you have claimed an asteroid and that you control it, and you can add that sort of to your territory. That's your area. However, the other team can then come along and hack the beacon or destroy the beacon and put one of their own down and claim it instead. So you can't just place a beacon down and say it's yours, you have to defend it as well. And yes, the winner is the person, when the timer goes off, with the most number of beacons on asteroids. Now, to make sure that people actually do that, and that the game is over fighting for territory rather than just straight, a PvP battle over between the two teams, that beacon is very bright. There are two conditions about attacking the other team's base. So you aren't allowed to attack the other team's base. By the way, each of these bases are identical on identical asteroids, and all of the asteroids, well, I went for a little bit more of an organic feel, so they're not, in very set places. So one team, might have a tiny, tiny advantage, but I sort of measured them out between all of the asteroids, and they seem to average out to be fairly even between each of them. And yes, these asteroids are absolutely identical, right down to all of the resources inside these asteroids. Yes, so if we're playing a 2-hour game, although all of these rules are malleable, set them up to suit you. But for the 2-hour game that we'll be playing to start with, for the first hour, you are not allowed within, I think we decided, although the beacons aren't going to show up because I'm in spectator mode, but I think we decided within 300 meters at this stage, and I believe that looks at about there. I've tested this quite a bit, so I've gotten used to the distance. So around about there, you're not allowed within that distance of the opposing team's base, and you are not allowed at any range to fire on them to destroy anything. Once they're outside of that range, everything's fair game. But inside there, it's a safe zone. So you're not allowed to go near the enemy team's base. And that's partly because, we have a few weapons builders out and about, and they could easily destroy a base from this range. And that's not terribly difficult. So the first hour, you're not allowed to attack at all. It's a safe time, although you can venture out and do whatever you please outside of those 2 safe zones. And then, once that hour is up, there is one more condition that says you aren't allowed to attack the other team's base until you have placed a powered beacon on all of the asteroids, if you ever get to do that. Now, you may think that's a bit of a strange rule to start with, but remember, the aim of this game is about territory. It's about capturing asteroids, both attacking and defending them. It's not about wiping out the other team. But if one team is so dominant that they claim all of the asteroids, then they are rewarded with the opportunity to try and attack the other team's base. By the way, the base doesn't have to stay here. This is just their starting equipment that both teams get. Once that's done, I'm assuming on this particular map that the teams would probably end up down in there somewhere. The only requirement is that to have a base, to have that safe zone, you have to have a powered beacon showing the whatever base, whatever team name you decide. It has to be there, and a medical room. That's what makes a base. If they're not there, then that safety exclusion zone doesn't exist. So if you run out of power, then you're fair game. But yes, as I was saying, if you capture all of the asteroids, you get to have a go at attacking the other team's base, and that will be displayed in a chat message. I will alert everyone when that happens, or, well, rather, if that happens. However, if the team that has no control over any of the asteroids and is about to be attacked, they can fly out and try and destroy one of the other beacons, because as soon as one of the beacons is destroyed, the other team can no longer attack their base and must retreat immediately. So it is intentionally difficult to attack the other team's base. As I said, that's because it's about capturing territory rather than about just destroying the other team. So this is a strategy game, and I think it helps the strategy to have this safe zone. So you can always go back there and regroup, resupply, and to retool, to set up your ships in a better way. So it's all about trying to work out the best ways to attack and defend the asteroids. And I think the key will be teamwork. If you're playing in a team, it looks like we'll probably have teams of around about 7 each on the weekend for the very first one. That's if everyone shows up and the server can handle it, which I'm hoping it will. Most importantly, it will all be just for fun, for laughs. So nobody will be taking it seriously. I will be recording, as well as a number of other people who will be named in due course. But just so you know the format for it, so if we're recording this weekend, so early next week, this will make no sense to you if you're watching this in a year's time, but early next week, the recording, the videos will be released as long as everything goes well, and you know how Space Engineers is, it might fail terribly, but so long as everything goes well, we'll be recording unedited in 20-minute segments every 2 days. I think that's it as far as the game is concerned. I've probably left something out here and there. But I'd also like to add on that these sort of events, now this one is being hosted primarily for the applicants and members of the NID as they are at the moment, but these style events, not necessarily as big as this, they might just be smaller things, we're trying to host them through the NID group more often. To the point where hopefully once everyone is up and running at least once a week. So although this one is, rather closed off, ones in the future will be public, and we will be accepting people through that Steam group. The link to that group is below. I suggest going to the forums on there and subscribing if you want to keep updated on that. I'll also, post little, promotional tidbits here on the channel for whatever's going on. And at this stage, events are organised by one of the NID members, one of the purple NID members, and they'll sort of be the sponsor, so to speak. I know I've talked about this in the past, but this is just in case you missed that. So they'll be the sponsor, and then there will be Nordic Beast, who is the sort of event manager around the NID group, who will help set everything up. But that's just to let you know that although you can't play on this one, we have already got the people for this one, and that it's not really open to the public, that there will be chances in the future, and even if you do miss out on those, there'll always be ones after that. So I hope we can make some things that people will enjoy playing, and for those of them that I or the other members, or indeed anybody that plays who records, make some interesting videos out of it as well. Although that isn't the primary thrust of it, it is mostly just to provide something fun for the people who want to join in. But yes, I look forward to playing this, and I hope you look forward to watching it next week as well. I will definitely be interested in seeing the other perspectives. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.